Americans do realize that part of the reason why Americans are so much richer than Canadians is because they don't neuter their own economy.
Americans are not richer. They're not richer. All right. I know this is a common misconception, and it's because you're focusing on average wealth. When it comes to average wealth, the US has the second highest, $621,000 per person on average. But you've got to remember what average is. It's skewed by the top, the very richest people, because they've got someone who's worth $500 billion. One person is worth $500 billion right now. So that pushes that number up. If a billionaire moves into your housing complex, the average of your housing complex, the average wealth of your housing complex goes up to like 100 million or something. You're not worth 100 million, but statistics works like that. So a better measure is the median, which basically puts everyone ascending to descending and then takes the middle point, which really shows you how the average person is doing in a country. And based on that, Luxembourg is number 1, Australia is number 2, Canada is down there, $152,000 per person on median, Canada. And then the US is all the way down there, less than 120,000. The average Canadian is wealthier than the average American. Sorry, the median Canadian is wealthier than the median American. See, I made the same mistake because averages are just so common to use. Median is a much better measure because it shows you how regular people are doing. So don't fall for this propaganda nonsense.
Being from Atlanta but growing up in DC and having spent a lot of time in Toronto, Ottawa, and traveling across Canada, I do believe that the Americans have a higher standard of living, but not necessarily higher wealth per person. That said, this video got me thinking about a lot of statistical inaccuracies that are often used and perpetuated that I might want to address. Number 1, the idea that Black people commit most of the crime. Now, this claim usually comes from people who are misreading the FBI arrest data, not conviction data. And they're ignoring the context, like poverty rates, over-policing, and systemic bias. Now, the fact is, arrest reflects who gets policed, not who commits the crimes. Studies show that Black and white Americans use drugs at similar rates, yet Black people are 3 to 5 times more likely to be arrested for it. And these can have major implications across income, education, and marital statuses later in life. Violent crime in particular is highly localized in poor areas with less opportunity. It's not a racial phenomenon. You may have heard that fatherlessness in the Black community is the root of all our problems. But the CDC shows Black fathers who live with their kids, hey, that's me, are the most involved of any racial groups. They're included in feeding, bathing, homework, and playtime. The real issue in the Black community is economic inequality, mass incarceration, and discriminatory housing and employment policies that have a much bigger impact on family stability than do Black men. They use skewed statistics to make you believe that Black people are lazy and dependent on welfare. Yet, only a small percentage of Black Americans actually receive welfare benefits. Black women in particular have the highest labor force participation among any demographic of women in the US. And most Black households that do receive assistance also have someone working. So the real question is, why is the minimum wage not a living wage? And last but not least, Black people receive so much preferential treatment due to affirmative action and DEI. Well, I hate to break it to you, you're ignoring centuries of exclusion and ongoing biases in hiring and admissions. As we should all know by now, white women are the biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action. Black candidates still face higher rejection rates with the same or better qualifications. Here in America, we've got college dropouts like Charlie Kirk defaming Supreme Court justices and Harvard graduates, summa cum laude, might I add, simply because they're Black. I'm looking at you, Ketanji Jackson. Now, studies show that diverse schools and workplaces improve performance and innovation overall. And if you do your research on a lot of the modern day inventions we currently take for granted, you'll see that a lot of foundational Black Americans are the ones responsible for them. You can start by Googling Mark Dean, Roy Clay Sr., Granville T. Woods, and Lewis Latimer, just to name a few. I say all of this to remind you, don't believe the hype. Foundational Black Americans continue to overwhelmingly produce positive contributions to the United States, despite the skewed statistics they like to use to defame us. For he who has an ear to hear, let him hear.